Our first guest tonight is a very funny and talented actress you know from shows such as Brockmire, Studio 60 on the Sunset Strip, and Dirty John, as well as films like Something's Gotta Give, The Way, Way Back, and The Whole Nine Yards. She stars in the second season of Your Friends and Neighbors, which returns to Apple TV on April 3rd, and Fantasy Life, which is in theaters this Friday. Please welcome back to the show one of our favorites, Amanda Peet, everybody. Welcome back, friend.
Thank you.
We are friendly and we know each other, and I know because we know each other, you get nervous doing this, but come on, it's your 5th time, you love it.
I would get nervous doing it even if I didn't know you. In fact, it might be worse. I don't know, I can't decide.
I would hope it's better because we're friends.
I'm wasted, so I don't
Okay,
know.
you're wasted. All right. You wrote a beautiful New Yorker piece that I highly recommend people read. It's very sad and heartbreaking. It's very funny, but it is about you receiving a cancer diagnosis at the same time that both your parents are dying.
It's a laugh riot.
It is. There are funny moments in it, but it's heavy. And I'm wondering, like, what has the response been? I mean, because I imagine for a lot of people, it is things they're going through and things they probably don't read about that often.
Yeah, I think it's, first of all, it's been just so lovely and surprising, and yeah, I had no idea that people would read it, and I'm glad, and if it's a source of comfort for anyone, I'm glad. Yeah, we don't really talk about giving birth or death very much in this country.
We really don't, and you obviously had to. We lived through it, obviously, and certainly with our parents, it's particularly hard.
Yeah.
I don't want to make this about your husband, but because obviously this is your burden. But your husband is, he's a writer. David is a writer, and I'm just wondering how he's coping with finding out that you're better at it than he is. It's so. I mean, because it's really, again, like, it's so well done.
And it is a competition.
Good. There's a very funny observation, not an observation, a story about your mother and going to one of your early premieres.
Yes.
Which I think if you share will actually prove to people that it is very funny as well, this piece.
Well, I was extremely close with my mom. Like, we were thick as thieves. And anyway, but she didn't know any famous people. She wasn't connected to Hollywood at all. And maybe in the beginning didn't really want me to be an actress, and understandably for many reasons. And one of the first movies I got was a Sarah Michelle Gellar movie called Simply Irresistible that, no offense to anyone, but it was just terrible. She's lovely, but it just was one of those movies that just was a stinker.
Some of them don't work. Yeah, that's why we're so impressed with good movies.
And we were we were at the premiere. My mom was between me and my agent. Wow, I'm suddenly really drunk. And I looked over and she was like this. I swear on my life, mouth wide open, and yeah.
Would she, after something like that, would she fake that she liked it? She seemed like a straight talker.
No, straight talker.
Yeah.
She wasn't mean by any stretch of the imagination, but she would, neither of my parents watched Jack and Jill, which was the first series I did, You're All Too Young, on the WB. Sometimes I think it was because they couldn't find the channel.
Yeah.
So it's hard to say.
That's kind of, at that point, it's on the WB, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
we got to spread the blame around. Yeah. Were you, at the time, were you cognizant of the fact that they weren't watching it? Like, did you have an expectation that they would?
It was, I'm sure it hurt my feelings a little bit, but on the other hand, now that I'm old.
Yeah.
I really understand. I mean, I don't know why my dad would really want to watch a romantic comedy on the WB.
Right. I think there is something nice to be like, one day, hopefully, I will make work that we will all agree that, is you're the audience for, but we're not going to force it.
That was a really good little speech. Like, he could have given me that speech. One day, you'll make something that... I might vaguely.
That's what I say to my
vaguely-
kids every night before bed. I'm like, and remember, as you lay your head on the pillow, one day you'll make something I'll be interested in. Your dear friend, and mine, but yours more than mine, Sarah Paulson's your
little bit.
BFF. And she did the audio version of this story on The
did.
New Yorker that you can listen to. You were there when she recorded. And I'm just wondering, are you wearing a blanket for sound reasons? Or was this a
so-
fashion choice?
She wore the button-down shirt, and we were told it was too noisy. So
I see.
We got naked, but I didn't bring you the pictures of us naked.
I understand that, yeah.
Because last time I was naked when I was here in the picture that you showed.
Yeah.
That Sarah Paulson took.
That's right. But again, I want to make it clear, like, I don't like have these pictures. Amanda brings these pictures. I mean, I love these pictures, but I don't have them.
Alexi, I love you. I'm sorry.
Oh my God, don't ruin it by mentioning my wife.
Hi, Alexi.
Hey, I want to ask you about your show. More with Amanda right after this, everybody.
Let's get very, very, very drunk.
Okay.
Did I interrupt that?
Not at all.
Sitting here drinking Negronis, you're looking to get laid.
Not my type.
Bull. I would do her.
Hey, welcome back. We're here with Amanda Pete already. That was a clip from your friends and neighbors. A very honest and authentic moment happened when the clip started playing. You went, oh, interesting. Like you'd never seen the show.
Oh, no, it was because she says, or whatever, my character says, let's get very, very drunk.
Ah, so it was like...
People are going to be concerned after this.
Congratulations to the second season. You already know you're doing a third season. That's very
Yes.
nice in this day and age.
It's
Congratulations
insane.
on the job security. It's great. It's a great show. Wonderful act. John Hamm, our friend John Hamm, is in it. And it feels like the intensity of your character, is it safe to say, is amped up in season 2?
Well, yes, so my boss, who I love so much, Jonathan Tropper, the brilliant Jonathan Tropper, decided to write a menopause story
Okay.
for my character. And I was like, what? I'm
Yeah, you can't. If you can't confidently end the back half of 30, they know. That's how they know. Yeah.
So after I got over that, I was very excited because, you know, she gets up to all sorts of antics, almost like an adolescent. Because, you know, with menopause, you guys are all way too young, but
But if you watch Jack and Jill,
wow. Yeah, you can get really hormonal, and Jonathan Tropper wrote a storyline where she's just basically has impulse control issues, and so we get up to all sorts of stuff, and it's really funny, and I think.
I mean, I'm just gonna say, like, you know, we were talking earlier about your essay, right? Like, we don't talk about birth, we don't talk about death, and we really don't talk about menopause that much.
Well, I think now that Naomi Watts and others are coming out and talking about it and normalizing it, now we don't feel quite as much like, you know, the old hags that we are.
Well, I want to say, like, I do consider it like a public service because I think, you know, one of the things about when, for whatever reason, like, we don't talk about these things in pop culture, like, no one knows about it. And then, you know, people like me would love to be, like, hip to it.
You
No, for real. I'm not. I know I'm sound like, you know what I mean? Like,
No,
because
I love
otherwise
you.
you've got to, like, you know, read a book. I'm just saying. Like, got to go to the library, which is where I get all my books.
no, it's good for someone in your situation who's married and you're not there yet, but it's good for you to have a heads up.
Yeah. Thank you.
You know.
Thanks in advance.
You're welcome.
There's also, it's not just a menopause storyline. There's also, you're
What
having.
else is there?
You have a trouble with the neighbor's dog this season.
Well, yeah, but then I get really angry.
Yeah, you get a little angry, yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of fake dog excrement in this season.
Can we not just say poop?
Well, we definitely can say poop, but we're like not 9, you know?
There's a dog excrement
I
story.
know. I don't know. Dog. Let's just say dog.
Story.
There's dog. What did they use for it? Because this is basically like that's what I care most about in television. Is
Same.
what, yeah.
And same with my 11-year-old son.
He
His
just wants to
eyes
know.
lit up. He was like, "Can I come to the set that day?"
Oh, he wanted to come on dog.
Yeah, he wanted to come and see them make the dog.
Wow.
He did.
He really did want to come? I mean, I'm thinking about it. I'm like, if I told my kids, I'm like, there's a day, we're just doing fake dog today, they'd be like, we're coming.
Yeah.
Obviously, we're coming. So what, can you give out the secrets?
It's one of those bars, you know, the health bars that have a lot of like seeds.
like a Cliff Bar?
Yes.
Oh my God.
Yes, and then
They were a sponsor.
Sorry.
They're very healthy, but I could also believe,
they?
like, yeah. Oh,
Well,
healthy, yeah, really good. I mean,
I'll never
we're not
have
going to get
one.
it back as a sponsor, but yeah. So, but is it just a regular old?
And then it's like they wear gloves and they mush it with water,
Uh-huh.
and then there are like 40 crew people around being like, more mushy and wetter. It's not wet enough on her shoe. And
on days like that, are you just like, oh my God, show business is everything I thought it would be?
Yes, I think maybe my dad will give me that speech on this one.
I'd be like, you finally did it.
Yeah, you finally made it.
Hey, thanks so much for being here. Congrats on another season. We love having you. Amanda Peet, everyone. Second season of Your Friends and Neighbors premieres April 3rd. Fantasy Life is in theaters this Friday. Stick around. We'll be right back with Vincent D'Onofrio.